Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something that trips up almost everyone at some point. Your own internal monologue, that voice in your head. We've dug into some fascinating material, often used with top athletes, looking at the mental game, how you talk to yourself, and use strategies to stay focused, especially when things get stressful.
Exactly. Our mission today really is to shortcut you to better mental control.
Yeah.
We're breaking down a pretty structured guide. Think the thought restructuring, calming yourself down, getting into that flow state.
Yeah, the zone.
Precisely. And we want to go beyond just saying think positive. We're talking practical, almost mechanical steps you can use to actually stop those negative thought spirals in their tracks.
And if you're listening, you know this feeling. It could be before a big presentation, staring at a bursting inbox, or, maybe standing over a tricky putt on the golf course. How often do you find yourself kind of undermining your own success? Thinking things are going too well, maybe? We're diving into those specific thought traps and offering real step-by-step ways out. Okay, so let's nail down these mental gremlins first. The sources we looked at suggest, maybe counterintuitively, that the really dangerous self-talk often kicks in when things are actually going pretty well. What kind of thoughts should set off alarm bells?
Well, there are two big ones that really pull you out of the moment. The first is when you start chalking up your good performance to pure luck.
Like, wow, I got lucky there. I'm playing way better than I should be. Well, no, when the wheels are going to fall off.
Exactly that. And it's sabotage because you're basically saying you're not in control. It's just chance.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the second one?
The second is getting hyper-focused on the future outcome, usually by calculating things like, okay, I'm 3 under par. If I can just not bogey this next tough hole, just hang on, I'll have a great score.
Right. Focusing only on the score, not the shot itself.
And what's really critical here, and this is key for you listening, is why both of those thought patterns are so destructive. It's not just because they're negative.
Okay.
It's because they instantly break your routine. Your mental routine, your physical routine, that whole chain reaction. Your performance, whatever it is, relies on this sensory motor connection to what you're doing right now. The second you start calculating future scores or thinking about past luck, you've yanked your focus away. You're basically interrupting the very process that got you the good result in the first place. You break that rhythm.
That clicks. Yeah. The moment you think about the result, you stop focusing on the input, the actual task. Okay, so say we catch ourselves in that spiral, late for a big meeting, hitting every red light, feeling that tension build. How do we break out right then?
Right. This is where we deploy the core strategies usually in order. First, arousal reduction. Got to calm the body down.
Physical first.
Second, thought stopping and rational dialogue. You have to interrupt the mental noise.
Got it.
And third, focused thinking. Actively bring your attention back to what you can control right now. So let's tackle the physical piece first, arousal reduction. The material lays out a really effective breathing technique. Simple, but it works.
Okay, I'm listening.
You breathe in deeply through your nose,
Yeah.
and then you exhale through your mouth. But here's the key part. The exhale needs to be twice as long as the inhale.
Twice as long on the exhale. Okay, my instinct when stressed is usually the opposite, short, sharp breaths, maybe even holding it. Why the long exhale?
Good question. It's about hacking your own biology, really.
Yeah.
That prolonged exhale stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. It sends a signal to your body like, okay, stand down, rest and digest time, instead of that fight or flight panic mode.
Interesting. So you're actively calming the system.
You are, and you combine that breathing with consciously slowing down your movements. Let your arms, your shoulders just relax. If you find yourself rushing physically, force yourself to walk, say, 20% slower, deliberately.
Okay, breathing and slowing down. Now, once the physical edge is slightly off, we hit the mental loop with thought stopping. Let's use that deadline example. Feels like 4 days of work, you've only got 2, and your head's just spinning.
Right. You have to interrupt that negative thought's focus. You literally, maybe silently, maybe even firmly tell yourself, be quiet. Stop that worry loop right there.
Be quiet. Okay, but wait, is that just pushing it down? Like suppression? How do we make sure it doesn't just, pop back up later, even stronger?
That's a really important point. It would be suppression if you stop there, but you don't. You immediately follow it with rational dialogue.
Oh, okay.
You basically talk sense to yourself. You acknowledge, okay, this worry, this spinning about how awful it is, it's not actually helping me get the work done. All it's doing is making me tense, probably irritable, and definitely less effective.
Right.
So the solution isn't to keep worrying about the whole 4 days of work. That's irrational. It's useless right now. The rational move is to shift focus to the first task, the immediate next step. Take it one piece at a time.
So be quiet interrupts and rational dialogue redirects. Makes sense. But how long does that feeling of relief last? Do I need to keep telling myself be quiet every few seconds?
Yeah, this was fascinating in the source material. When you first start doing this, that sense of calm, that relief, it might only last like 15 seconds, maybe 30. It's brief.
Oh, wow.
But, and this is crucial, the relief lasts longer the more you practice it. It becomes more automatic. Which brings us to the real takeaway. You have to practice this stuff day to day.
Yeah.
Off the golf course, outside the boardroom.
And low stakes moments.
Exactly. When you spill coffee, when you're stuck in normal traffic, build the mental muscle then, so when the real pressure hits, that pathway is already there. It's ready to go.
Okay, so we've tackled the inner critic. But what about external stuff? That colleague who taps their pen constantly, the incredibly slow driver in front of you, or, maybe a competitor trying to get under your skin.
Gamesmanship.
Yeah. The sources say if you don't deal with it, if you're non-assertive, that irritation just builds, right, from a simmer to a full boil inside.
Absolutely. And that internal anger, that boiling frustration, it just floods your system with static, irrelevant emotional noise. And that noise completely jams your concentration. It wrecks your routine. You simply can't perform at your best if you're carrying that kind of internal fury.
Okay, so yelling isn't the answer. What's the controlled, effective response then?
No, yelling definitely isn't it. The goal is calm, controlled assertiveness. So if someone's doing something irritating, the first step is actually nonverbal.
Okay.
Try to minimize the distraction if you can. Take that deep 2-to-1 breath we talked about. Maybe physically step away for a second off the ball, out of the conversation briefly. Make direct eye contact, but without smiling. Then restart your own routine with quiet, deliberate movement.
Kind of resetting your own space, non-verbally. And if that doesn't work, if the pen keeps tapping...
Then you might need to move to a verbal strategy, calmly, and using those I statements that the material really emphasizes.
Right. Not you're distracting me, but...
Exactly. You own your reaction. Something like, I find that specific action distracting. I'd really appreciate it if you could stop. Or, I feel distracted when that happens. I suggest we. You state the issue and your feeling. Maybe offer a solution, but without making it a personal attack. Then you immediately refocus.
The sources had a really interesting insight into why people struggle with this, why they avoid being assertive. It's about fearing the loss of what they called unconditional positive regard.
Yes, that's a powerful concept. It's basically this deep-seated fear of being judged negatively, of someone not liking you, of losing their approval. And for some people, that potential social discomfort, that fear, it's just emotionally unbearable. So they choose to suffer the irritation rather than risk the confrontation. But that internal suffering, that kills your focus just as effectively. You're prioritizing what someone might think later over your performance now.
Which ties into that great Sam Snead story. He was playing Lloyd Mangrum. Apparently, Mangrum kept, crossing and uncrossing his legs right on the tee box, clearly trying to mess with Snead's focus.
All right, classic gamesmanship. But Snead didn't let it get to him. He didn't boil over. He just calmly backed off his shot, waited, then walked over and said something direct like, "You've hit your ball. Now get off the damn tee while I hit mine."
Direct. No anger, just asserting his space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Calm, controlled, reestablished who was in charge of that moment.
So the mental key is realizing their attempt to distract only works if you let it work internally. If their goal is to make you boil, they win the second you do. You have to stay cool. All right, let's shift gears a bit. We all carry around those bigger worries, right? The looming decisions, the complex problems that just sit in the back of our minds, draining energy even when we're trying to focus on something else.
Oh, definitely. Mental clutter, indecision. They're huge performance killers.
This idea of unloading burdens using a structured, written approach seems really powerful for tackling that kind of background anxiety.
It really is. It's a specific 5-step process laid out for those big problems, the ones that need a decision or some action, but right now we're just kind of floating around causing stress.
Okay, walk us through the steps. How do you tackle a big nagging problem this way?
Okay, step 1, get it out of your head and onto paper. Describe the problem in writing as clearly and fully as you can.
Just dump it all out?
Yep. Step 2, brainstorm. Write down every possible solution or alternative you can think of. Don't filter yet, just get them all down, even the slightly crazy ones.
Okay, all options on the table.
Step 3, ask yourself a really objective question. Does this require immediate action? Like right now, today.
And here's where it gets really interesting, right? If the answer is NO, you don't have to act right this second. You go to step 4, which is,
Step 4 is setting a specific appointment to worry.
I love that phrase.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're not trying to ignore the worry or pretend it doesn't exist. You're scheduling it. You literally decide, okay, I will deal with this budget issue on Wednesday at 3:00 p.m. You put it in your calendar.
So when the anxiety pops up before Wednesday,
You can say to your brain, nope, already scheduled. Thanks for the reminder, but worrying now just ruins Tuesday. We'll handle it Wednesday at 3:00. You acknowledge the thought, then use your thought-stopping and relaxation tools to gently set it aside until the appointment.
it's like giving your brain permission to let go for now because it knows it will be addressed. That's actually really clever, controlled procrastination almost.
You could call it that. It frees up mental energy. Now, what if the answer to step 3 is yes? Immediate action is needed.
Right.
Then you move to step 5. You look at your list of alternatives from step 2. Pick the top, say, 3 most reasonable ones. Then you list the pros and cons for each.
Okay, standard decision making.
But with a key distinction. You specifically note whether each pro or con is based on pure emotion or on tangible, factual consequences. That helps you separate fear from reality.
Ah, that's smart.
Then you make the decision. Pick one. And this is vital. You reinforce yourself for making the decision. You commit to it. Just the act of deciding, of taking action, significantly reduces stress.
Okay, so all these things, the breathing, the thought stopping, the assertiveness, the problem solving, they seem like they're clearing the way, right? Setting the stage for the ultimate goal, which the sources call the flow state.
That's exactly right. Flow state, the zone, focus concentration, mindfulness, they're all pointing to the same peak performance condition.
And it's not just for athletes, it's described as a calming strategy in itself.
It is, because by its very definition, flow state pulls your entire focus into the present moment, the only place you have real control. And that act, that intense present moment focus, inherently quiets the nervous system.
So how do we actually practice getting into flow state? Outside of the high pressure moments, what are the daily exercises?
It literally starts the second you wake up. Before you even get out of bed, potentially. First step, grab that notepad again, write down all the tasks, worries, things you need to do today, get that mental clutter out. Then, and this is key, turn the tablet face down.
Symbolically setting aside the future worries.
Exactly. You've acknowledged them, but you're not dwelling on them. Second step, right then, start that deep diaphragmatic breathing, the 2-to-1 exhale. Set the physical calm.
Okay, notepad dump, breathing. What's next? This sounds like where it gets more intense.
It does. The third piece is practicing quiet movement and sensory narration.
Explain those. Quiet movement.
You consciously slow down everything you do. Like the source material says, aim for the soft, quiet touch of a dentist. Move deliberately, smoothly, and to help maintain that intense focus while moving slowly.
Sensory narration.
Yes, you internally narrate every tiny sensory detail of what you're doing. As you make the bed, you might think, feeling the cool, smooth texture of the sheet, hearing the slight rustle, seeing the crease, or making coffee, feeling the weight of the mug, the warmth spreading, hearing the water dripping.
Wow. Trying to keep that up for, say, 5 minutes straight. That sounds incredibly demanding mentally.
It is demanding. That's precisely why it's such powerful practice. If you can train yourself to maintain that detailed present moment sensory focus for 5 minutes, you're building serious mental stamina. You're teaching your brain that this focus state is possible, even normal, not the distracted state.
Okay. And this idea connects to shifting focus intentionally too, right? The broad and narrow focus technique.
Absolutely. You need to be able to control the aperture of your attention like a camera lens. So you practice shifting deliberately. Maybe you're sitting in a room, broad focus, taking the whole scene, then boom, narrow focus. Pick a tiny detail on a picture across the room, see only that. Or when driving, broad focus on traffic, then narrow right down to one letter on the license plate ahead. Practice switching back and forth.
Exercising the focus muscle.
Exactly. And when you're in the stressful moment, the presentation, the golf shot, whatever, and you feel that pressure spike or get distracted, the sources give us a great little acronym to use as a reset.
Limo.
LIMO.
Leave it and move on.
Yeah. It's your instant mental reset. Bad shot, distracting noise, annoying thought. Limo. Acknowledge it briefly, then immediately redirect. It means you never calculate your score or outcome mid-task. You maintain that quiet, deliberate movement. And you stay intensely target-focused. Like the golfer Meg Mallon apparently said, she'd focus down to a single leaf on a distant tree. That's extreme narrow focus locked onto the immediate target.
Yeah.
When you start integrating all these skills, when you practice them regularly, the payoff is, well, it's pretty profound.
Yeah.
When you achieve that flow state, even just glimpses of it off the course or outside of work, there's this feeling of deep peacefulness, like a relaxed calm. Your mind feels uncluttered. Often your sense of time even shifts a bit. It genuinely enhances not just how well you perform tasks, but your actual overall quality of life.
That makes a lot of sense. And here's something provocative from the material to leave you thinking about. There seems to be a strong link between where your thoughts typically live, past, present, or future, and your baseline emotional state.
Mm.
The suggestion is people whose minds constantly drift to the past often feel angry or sad or frustrated. Makes sense, you're replaying things you can't change, right? So by deliberately practicing these techniques, the focus concentration, the quiet movement, the thought stopping, the limo reset, you're actually making a conscious choice. You're choosing to live more fully in the only part of time you actually have any control over right now, the present moment. So maybe the next time you feel that internal frustration building could be traffic, a deadline, just a moment of self-doubt. Try it. Take that slow 2-to-1 breath. Consciously slow your movements down and just tell yourself, limo, leave it and move on, see what happens.